To say that Ireland is in a state of crisis is probably one of the biggest understatements anyone can utter at this moment. But what is the real cause of our crisis? Is it Fianna Fáil, the Greens, the banks, the developers, or the bondholders? Collectively, we have been at the blame game now for over 2.5 years, and we are still no nearer a solution. While it is my contention that all of the above are to blame, you can also add in Fine Gael, the Labour Party, and sadly a few independents from North Tipperary and South Kerry. You see, our current political system is just not working. Political parties as we now know them have destroyed the political process. They have usurped their political power to rape this great country of ours for their own personal gain and for the gain of the vested interests of those that support them and contribute millions into their election campaigns. Political parties have not served this country well. They are an abomination on Irish society and are essentially self-serving private clubs who are fooling the electorate with their cosmetic differences. They are not fit for purpose, and the sooner the electorate wakes up to the charade that's going on around them, and even to the circus that is going on in front of their very eyes during this current election campaign, the better it will be for Ireland, its people, and especially its sovereignty. Nowhere is it mentioned in Bunreacht na hÉireann that we should have political parties in Dáil Éireann. The Irish Constitution calls for Teachta Dála, messengers to the Dáil, or people's representatives in the Dáil. Political parties, aided and abetted by the so-called free press, have abused this system and have contributed to the unholy mess we currently have in Ireland. We need to urgently restore accountability and honesty to our political system. This cannot be achieved through corrupt and self-serving parties of whatever hue. We need to radically review how we elect our representatives to Dáil Éireann. Democracy needs to be returned to the people, because as of now what the people are getting is actually the antithesis of democracy. Over the past 2 years, many new groups and individuals have stood up, looked for, and presented new democratic solutions for Ireland. While these groups differ ever so slightly in policy and/or focus, one matter is clear, and that is that they are all committed to delivering accountability and honesty, thereby restoring faith in our precious democratic system and affording people the opportunity to partake again in an open and democratic forum. A number of groups, movements and independents are currently seeking election to the 31st Dáil. I want to congratulate them for their courage and highly commend them to you as the new hope for Ireland. We have been supporting the party system since the foundation of the state. It has let us down badly through the abuse of the political system by the political parties. We need to rid this country of political parties and replace them with people's representatives, or Teachta Dála, in our Dáil. I call on you, wherever you may be, to support your local independent candidate in this election. We need to send a strong political message to these parties that their demise is imminent and that their long-running party at our expense is over. As citizens, we need to involve ourselves more in the democratic process. We need to be involved completely in the selection of our own candidates for election and refuse to accept those that the parties impose upon us. We need to reassert our democratic right to recall a member of the Dáil if he or she fails to carry out the democratic wishes of the electorate. We also need to reenact our democratic right to call a referendum. This was part of the Free State Constitution, but was conveniently dumped by De Valera in drafting the 1937 Bunreacht na hÉireann. So as a people we have a lot to do. The most important thing to do is to take back our power as citizens of Ireland and never again to give it away to any self-serving party, no matter what they promise you. You all know by now that auction politics has ruined this country. Those who used it and abused it should be banned from politics for a generation. Now Ireland needs real patriots. It needs people who are accountable and honest. It needs leaders of high calibre, not some puppets with cleverly sounding sound bites on a TV chat show, or people who shout others down by their bullying tactics. We need men and women of high calibre who are enthusiastic and dedicated to the service of their country and the electorate. When this election is over, I will be humbly suggesting to all those groups and individuals to get together as quickly as possible. This crisis is not going to end after this election. It will not end until the party system as we know it is finally collapses. I know that together we can deliver Ireland from the abyss. I would now like all of you to ask your party politician when he or she calls canvassing the following questions. Soon you will see the real map of Ireland on your screen. As you know from school days, the area of Ireland is 32,000 square miles. However, the real map of Ireland is much bigger. In actual fact, it is 10 times bigger than Ireland. This vast region is recognised by international law as belonging to the Irish state. It amounts to approximately 25% of the continental shelf. This is known as Ireland's exclusive economic zone. A Department of the Marine study, which is available at www.marine.ie, confirms this. It also outlines in graphic detail the vast reserves of oil and gas that are available for exploration within these areas. A reasonable economic value of these reserves puts their value at €1,000 billion. This figure does not take into consideration other coal and mineral deposits that have yet to be evaluated. In 2014, as a consequence of the Lisbon Treaty, qualified majority voting comes into effect in the EU. The EU, in effect, could impose a tax or other encumbrances on our exclusive economic zone, rendering its value useless to Ireland. As well as that, for the existing multinational companies that are drilling and developing the existing known fields, there are only handsome tax breaks and capital write-offs. The Irish nation or its people are deriving absolutely no benefit whatsoever from these conglomerates operating with a free hand in our exclusive economic zone. On top of this, Ireland has huge mineral reserves that are being foraged at no benefit to the Irish people. There is talk of selling off state assets to pay off some of the debts incurred by private banks, developers and Fianna Fáil. Cuilta has been mentioned as a potential asset sell-off. I want you all to demand to know from the candidates the results and the contents of a so-called confidential government commissioned geological study into the Cuilta lands. I also want you to ask them why Fianna Fáil, the Greens, Fine Gael and the Labour Party all urge us to accept the Lisbon Treaty, knowing that in doing so our exclusive economic zone was at risk. I also want you to ask them why, when the people rejected the Lisbon Treaty, they all conspired to cosmetically change the peripheral issues and still not deal with the substantive ones, and again recommended a flawed treaty to the people. Finally, I would like you to ask them in whose real interest they are working, for because if they are agreeing with conglomerates to rape our exclusive economic zone and others to steal our mineral deposits, they sure are not acting on behalf of the Irish people. We need to demand a new referendum on Lisbon and regain our sovereignty so that we can protect our vital interests and stop being a province of Europe. In conclusion, I would appeal to you, as you vote on February the 25th, to respectfully consider the greater good of your country. For once, forget about that so-called favour that was delivered, that presence at the funeral of a loved one, that pothole fixed at the end of the lane. Think instead about your children emigrating, your spouse out of a job, your small business in ruins from lack of cash flow, your house in danger of being repossessed. Before you mark your ballot paper, think seriously about allowing the charade to continue, creating more ruin for Ireland. Think instead about taking patriotic action for you, your children and your country. Thank you for listening. I would urge you to pass this video clip on to all your friends so that all the electors get to hear it before February 25th. Make sure to use your democratic right to vote on February the 25th. If you don't, you are in effect supporting the status quo. Thank you. Danny Lord.